All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by two veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience need to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. It's time. The boys are in their seats, but first we have some announcements. A few days ago, we posted to be on the lookout for United States Navy sailor Angelina Resendez. Tonight, we come to you with bad news, sad news, horrible news. She was found yesterday. Her body was identified yesterday evening, and a fellow sailor is now in custody. So please keep Angelina's family in your thoughts and prayers and her fellow sailors. Also, Police Officer Crystal Rivera, Chicago Police Department, Illinois, and The Watch, Thursday, June 5th, 2025. Police Officer Gabriel Facio, Apache Junction Police Department, Arizona, and The Watch, June 8th, 2025. Today, we come to you as a country polarized by media, polarized by people who think they know what's going on in the world. It's not good to spread lies to everyone. The facts are, we are America. We are united. We challenge you to get out the box and speak to your mother-loving neighbor, your fellow citizens, and solve the problems without destroying your homes. As this night starts to a fall, Cagney and Lacey are studied and learned. They're ready to rock your faces off. So reach up, grab those shoulder harnesses, and yank them down tight. Put your Fago Faster helmet on and get it ready to rock and roll with Steven and with Jake. Ready, boy!
Whoa. It gets louder, it gets longer, it gets more freaking exciting every week.
It does. It does. Imagine having to put up with this every day.
Well, imagine growing up with that. You didn't grow up with that. You have to work with it now.
Okay.
You have to deal with the older, kind of slower version. I had to deal with that full throttle for years.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's really all we can do. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Had a good day out training soldiers of the 101st, and it was a good day.
That's good.
It was a good day. How about your day? What did you do on your day off?
Laundry, food shopping, put in an air conditioner for my father. Little things.
I did that this weekend. I put in both my air conditioners.
Well, he had one in his bedroom. I don't know what happened to it, but he has now a new one, and I put it up and set it up for him today.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't know if they tipped it out the window or if somebody decided to carry it, but It was gone.
Well, it was getting about that time because it is getting awful warm around here. I don't know how things are in your neck of the woods, but here in Kentucky, it's getting a little warm.
It was been high 80s, but it's been raining for a couple of days, so it lowered a little bit. It's not bad.
All
It's
right.
livable.
All right. Well, hey,
Yes, sir.
I think we ought to get on it and start introducing our guest. What do you think?
Oh my goodness, we have a guest too. I thought
We
we were
have
just
a
going to sit here
guest,
and chat
and,
for an hour.
Before we get that, I want to thank everybody that is tuned in and watching us. And remember, as always, if you're feeling the darkness, tomorrow would not be as good a day without you in it. So get on the phone, dial 988, take option 1 if you're a veteran, and talk to somebody. And because we want you here, we love you. And, do not use that solution to get out of your problems. Please talk to somebody. So tonight, Stephen, we have Jon Reid.
Yes, we do.
I got to talk to him for about a second in the green room because of my connection issues. I don't know how long you was talking to him, but
Well, Rich was talking to him when I jumped in, so.
okay. He's a Marine veteran, got a great story. I read his bio. I read about his unit, read all the things that they went through, and I'm not going to dive too deep into his bio. I'm going to let him tell his story because it's truly an interesting story. And shoot, without any further ado, let's get Jon in here.
Good evening, Jon. How are you?
Good
Incredible.
evening, Jon.
Incredible. Thanks for having me on, gents. I appreciate it.
Hey, you are more than welcome. And I'm kind of interested to hear your story because I was kind of overlooking your bio and stuff. And there's a couple things in there we kind of mirror on.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
And so I'm sure we got a little bit in common over there, but we didn't say much other than you was in the Marine Corps and your name. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Jon?
Okay. You want me to start when I joined the Marine Corps, or where
You
where-
can start. You know what? You can start from the day your feet hit the ground.
Okay.
I don't care.
It's your show. We're just here hanging out.
Yeah, we're just here hanging out and asking questions.
I guess this story kind of started September 11th then. Well, I was not in the military on September 11th. 9/11 happened, and I decided that I wasn't on the right path, and I enlisted in the Marine Corps. So I got to the fleet, delayed entry program, blah, 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 boot camp. Got to the fleet July, I think, and June, July. And soon after that, we were in Kuwait waiting to push in to go to Iraq. 2003, I was a boot and a new Marine, and my senior Marines, they spent the previous 3 years, 2 years training to do what we're about to do. And we had work up, CACs and it was interesting that first deployment. We were all just trying to figure out what in the world we're supposed to be doing. We were all awkward kids trying to figure out how to ride the bike for the first time without the training wheels. It was definitely an interesting experience, and I had some amazing senior leadership. Our first encounter of any type, I remember Sergeant Major Howe grabbing his weapon by the slip ring, and standing in front of everybody going, "These guys can't shoot. Like, get up, move." And we're like, "Oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, we can do that." But it was really a learning experience. Great leadership, though. I had great NCOs. I think the vast majority of 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines we had some amazing leadership, amazing. Our unit, I felt, I mean, everybody likes to brag on their unit, but I feel like we were probably one of the best units in the Marine Corps at the time. I feel like our unit cohesion, our effectiveness, we were pretty awesome, and I feel privileged to be part of that, because I mean, there's a lot of great teams out there, and when you get to be a rookie and you get to go to the Super Bowl with an amazing team, and that's kind of what I felt like, was being a rookie kid and then, magically ending up playing in the Super Bowl. And that's honestly what it felt like.
And then it hits you, you're getting paid to do it.
Oh yeah. And honestly, some of the best guys, boys, we were guys, boys, men in that, age group. But man, some of the best guys you could imagine. And for all our differences and all our strengths, we were a pretty formidable force. And like I said, it was a learning curve. We got to see what munitions actually did compared to what we were told they did. Our first objective was Basra Airport, and I remember a small rocket getting shot into the terminal of the Basra Airport, but most of that building was glass, so it went in one side and out the other, and then first tanks was on the radio saying they were taking incoming, and I was like, I don't know that's what that was.
Now, let me ask you a question. In the green room, and just now you used the term boot. I would think once your feet touch the ground in a different country and you have a uniform on and you fire your weapon, you're no longer a boot. Is that out of reach in my mind, or do you still feel that you were there and because you knew you were the boot?
No, I definitely felt like that first deployment, that was my boot deployment. I was definitely a boot.
Okay.
I don't know that personally, I still feel like a boot most of the time, but yeah, I feel like that deployment was definitely my boot deployment. That was a lot of learning curves and a lot of I mean, there was definitely a lot of me trying to figure out not only fitting into the Fleet Marine Corps, but then being, I knew post 9/11 enlisting that the likelihood of me going into combat was pretty high, but it's never what you think. It's a whole lot of sitting in the back of Amtrak's in the dark and then jumping out and figuring out, I don't even know where we are. And this doesn't look like any of the terrain models we saw.
Yeah. Are we attacking directly out of the back of the Amtrak's? Are we going around after we get out? Or what are we doing?
Sometimes that changed on the fly.
Yes. Yes, it did.
Okay.
We had every intention of going out and making a right when we got off that Amtrak, and then somebody at the end of the ramp going, "Go straight, keep going," and that's not what we practiced.
Exactly. Well,
so there is a difference between training and real life. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exponentially.
Just a little bit. The targets on the range don't shoot back. So you were in 3-4 Marines. I did a little bit of reading on them, otherwise known as the Thundering Third.
Yes, sir.
And as a matter of fact, I talked with him a little bit with my brother-in-law. He was an artilleryman, and he worked with 3-4 a bit, and he talked very highly of 3-4. So yeah, that sounds like a good unit to be with. And so y'all jumped out of Kuwait, you crossed the border, you went in. I also read where 3-4 was the first Marines to enter Baghdad.
Yeah, we were. We crossed the Diyala Bridge. Again, one of those learning curves. That was a huge learning curve for the, division on down. trying to get that many Marines across the choke point was a huge learning curve. And for us, I think that was the day after we got to take our mop suits off. Maybe the day we got to take our mop suits off, the day after. It was very close. So that in and of itself was liberation as far as I was concerned. We won the war at that point.
Yes.
The moment those mop suits came off, I felt like that was victory. But crossing the Diyala Bridge was to get into Baghdad was my first. The bridge had been mortared, and we had engineers had put sheet metal over the bridge so we could go across the bridge on foot. That pretty much historic picture from 2003 was they called it the Marlboro Man, the guy on the bridge, his white guy, his face was all cindered up, and that was at the Diyala Bridge. So
Okay.
that was we crossed the bridge, and the first thing immediately when you crossed the bridge was a palm grove with foxholes, and it was very reminiscent of every Vietnam movie I've ever seen. And when you run across the bridge and there's rounds coming and then there's rounds going, and then you dive in that foxhole and you're like, well, today everything just got real.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool experience. And I felt, again, the guys that were with us on that push up, I feel like were phenomenal. The leadership we had, I know not every unit gets to say that they had great leadership, but the leadership on down, Lieutenant Colonel McCoy and Sergeant Major Howell were phenomenal. It went down to the officers, the staffing and COs we had were phenomenal. Excuse me. My senior leadership was phenomenal. We were on course to, had we not pushed into Kuwait, we were looking to be the squad eval champs. We were the squad that everybody was like, yeah, they have a good chance at doing that.
Yeah.
So it was just amazing to be with everybody that was so proficient at doing this. And this is the first time we've ever tried this in years.
Yeah.
Nobody except for, some of our senior leadership had gotten to be in Desert Storm and other conflicts. So definitely a first time. And then when we got into Baghdad, it was surreal. A lot of the first moments were surreal. It honestly felt like we were welcomed. People were waving at us. They were happy we were there. And then, within a couple of miles, people disappeared and RPGs showed up. So they wanted to welcome us too with fireworks, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So this is your parade, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it was. They started shooting RPGs at us. I think they were meant to be shooting them into the air as fireworks, as celebratory. I don't know, but
It was a malfunction.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're gonna go with.
Okay.
Well, I spent a year in Baghdad, and anytime Iraq had win a soccer game, they always had celebratory fire, and it always seemed to arc and fall into the fob.
Yeah, it was directional celebratory fire.
Yes, it was.
Then we ended up at Saddam Medical City, and we stayed there for. I'd like to say I knew exactly how long we were there. We were there for a minute, a hot minute. And securing that with a company-sized element, comparable to securing a university hospital in the States with a company of Marines. So that's not necessarily, we ended up getting relieved and augmented by the Army. I think it was 3rd ID.
Mm-hmm.
But those first couple of weeks it was stressful. We'd pull back into night and kind of consolidate our forces and then push out in the morning to re-secure the compound. And one time that didn't work out so successfully, somebody had slept in the bushes and waited for us to push out. And then their intent was to ambush us from behind. That didn't work out too well for him in the end. We lost a tanker during that as well, but he chose to not participate in society normal, and decided he was going to throw hand grenades and AK-47 rounds instead. So
Yeah, that usually don't work out too good if you're doing that against a company of Marines.
So I'm guessing he was taught a lesson.
Yeah, it was a terminal lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand. You didn't offer to take him to McDonald's and get him lunch or anything. You just took care of the problem. Okay.
I've heard that Allah's got 72 Virginians for him. So, when we first got there, we were doing 4-man patrols, like fire team patrols in Baghdad. That was really, we went to in our neighborhood, we were doing the 4-man patrols. We came across the bank and everybody's looting it. So 4 of us are trying to secure the looters and identify friend and foe out of the group of people we have detained. And then again, one of my senior Marines, Hernandez, he was the saw gunner at the time, noticed a vehicle had made 2 passes by us. It was a 2-door coupe sedan, and it was occupied by 4. And he said, "Hey, we need to stop this vehicle." And there's 4 of us. And so two people stayed with the detainees, and myself and Hernandez went to intercept the vehicle. And I learned real quick that what they teach and what they put in paper about the 203 round is not what happens. We're told it doesn't detonate before 21 meters. That is a lie. There was a bush probably 7 meters in front of me, like a giant shrub bush, but it didn't have leaves, just branches. And I thought 21 meters is farther than the other side of that tree, and that'll put that 203 round right in front of his vehicle, and that'll get their attention. It hit the tree and blew a nice big hole in that tree, in the limbs of that tree. And I realized quickly that 21 meter thing is not true.
But you have to try again, right?
Not from the spot I was standing.
Yeah. Let's adjust a little bit, get the trees out of the way.
And all 4 of those guys had weapons, and all loaded and all, they were ready to rock and roll, except for the fact that they were in a 2-door sedan and there was 4 of them and 1 guy was driving. So, the odds were not in their favor that day. And we ended up detaining them. We called for QRF, and I'm expecting, I'm expecting 100 a QRF team full of shooters, and then I saw the battalion commander and a news crew, and I realized that everything we did from that would be televised. Not necessarily us, but everything that we did in this OIF and OEF. We were going to be highly public for anything we did or didn't do.
Oh, yes. Yes, everything was highly public. So so you was in Baghdad for a while.
Yes.
And then when did you start heading up to Fallujah?
2004. So 2003 was Baghdad. 2004, we pushed into Fallujah after taking a roundabout in Rawah. And Rawah, there again, we set up our fire base. We set up a fire base just on the other side of the river. Downside was they couldn't get us with small arms. Or the upside was they couldn't get us with small arms. The downside is we had to cross a bridge to go to work every day.
Yeah.
So that became a choke point. And subsequently, I got hit with an IED. I got off really lucky. I all my fingers and toes. It was the equivalent of going duck hunting with Dick Cheney. It was like I got shot with birdshot on the left side of my body. So I am truly blessed and grateful. And God was looking out for me that day big time, because we had just gotten the steel doors on our Humvee. Gunny had Gunny Sawyer. I'll never forget. I'm convinced that he is the reason all four of us in that truck are alive. We put the steel doors on. We put the chow on. All the rations that we had were going on the left side of the vehicle. So we went hungry that night, but it was totally worth it. But yeah, and Gunny Sawyer, I'm convinced his man was sent by God. He is the reason the four of us are still here today.
Good deal. Good deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so he's wounded in Rawah, and I take it you stayed in the fight since, you said that, you just took a little bit.
All four of us stayed in the fight, and all
Good
four
deal.
of us, it was like we went duck hunting with Dick Cheney.
That was a drink some water and change your socks, right?
Yeah.
That's what Doc said.
we all got treated in the field. It's not an experience. It's weird. I remember seeing the device before it went off. I remember everything went black, and it felt like I had my foot on the throttle, so I was driving. I could feel the engine I could feel the tack on the engine just spiked. So it felt like we had went off the ground. I don't know how much or how little or whatever. The vehicle behind us said we were enveloped in black smoke, and they didn't see. But the way the IED was placed, it was against a perpendicular concrete barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So the vast majority of the blast went in the direction of the travel that we were traveling. And I don't know if it was the lookout or the trigger man. And I use the term man loosely. He was about 8, 9, 10 years old. He got a piece of rebar in him that looked like he you'd field dress a deer. Myself and the corpsman started first aid on him, and he I don't think he would have made it. We had a Medivite vac called for him, but he had a better chance than their solution was, inshallah, picked him up, threw him in the back of a truck, and they drove off.
Yeah.
So I can't say whether he would not made it, but I know he had a better chance than getting thrown in the back of a truck.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, okay, take us to Fallujah.
Fallujah was interesting. That was our second deployment. I feel like we had our sea legs a little bit more. A lot of our senior Marines got out, and now guys that were in above me and got in when I entered. Now we're the senior Marines, and senior junior Marines. The lance corporals, sergeants. We got dropped off, and I don't remember the cardinal direction where we were in the city. But the first couple of days it was house to house, clearing doors. I don't know that we slept a whole lot at all. And then we stopped. Everything kind of stopped. politicians were getting involved, and it didn't look that great. Marines do what Marines do, and we're really good at doing what we do. Unfortunately, that does not look good on TV at night. So
No, people, well, I'm going to say a lot of people don't like that. And, you know, they're entitled to their opinions, but, you know, y'all were there doing what you were supposed to be doing.
And like I said, the 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, I still believe was one of the best fighting forces at the time. And being in Fallujah with them was phenomenal. You felt defeated when we had to pull out, because we knew somebody else would have to go back and do that again. And then it wasn't long after that. Phantom Fury, I think, was 8 months after we pulled out, something like that. I don't remember. And catastrophic results on both sides. And
yes,
had we kept up the momentum we had, I think the outcome would have been different.
Now, did you were there for the first battle? Was you there for the second battle of Fallujah as well?
No, we relieved them after the second battle, and we did peacekeeping in Fallujah, which is, again, a loose term.
Yeah.
There was we had foot patrols that would go out. We had QRF. We had vehicle patrols that would go out. We had a vehicle checkpoint that we would man. And every platoon from India Company that was there definitely had some bad days. We all had some bad days there. What I take away from that deployment was the camaraderie. We were living in such close quarters. We had a couch. I have no idea where this couch came from, but this couch was the best thing in the world. You get off a bad patrol, you sit on that couch, there's bound to be somebody that's going to make you laugh. He's going to, wrestle with you, play poker with you. I mean, so that part of the deployment was the greatest thing in the world, was that couch. Yeah. We definitely had some good, they had an entire squad of Marines living in what would be the equivalent of most yard, about the size of most sheds in people's yards, probably 10 by 16. We had bunk beds built in the wall. It was ridiculous. It never smelled very good. And then after that, coming back to the States, actually after my first deployment coming back to the States, I was married at the time, and my first night back in the States, you turn in your gas mask and your rifle, and then you go home. And my first night back in the States, I don't remember this. My ex-wife told me the next day when I woke up, and I was like, what is going on? But I woke up in the middle of the night, flipped the mattress, and was convinced that somebody took my gas mask and my rifle. And my ex-wife gave me an unloaded shotgun and some sort of sewing bag that kind of felt like a gas mask. And she said, here you are, go back to bed. And I did, and I was out. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, what am I doing? And so she said, yeah, you flipped out and you were throwing stuff around until you found your gas mask and your rifle. And I was terrified because I didn't remember doing any of that.
Yeah, that's it takes a while to decompress out of that. And the times you do remember, you wake up with you kind of wake up and you're feeling around, you're scared there for a minute, and then you're looking around, you're like, oh, I'm actually at home, or
And waking up at home was, again, I didn't know where I was, and I was confused. I was like, this is weird. It's weird. It almost looks like base housing.
Yeah. And still to this day, and I've been retired since 2011. I mean, it's been a little bit. I live next to the interstate. And if a tractor trailer blows a tire on the interstate, I'm in the dirt. I mean, it gets me. I just, yeah, it takes a while.
Soon after I got out, I don't know why we were in South Dakota. We lived in Colorado. I don't know why we were in South Dakota. But they do the staged gunfights in the street in Deadwood. All I knew was I heard 45 rounds go off in a succession, and I grabbed my kids and threw them behind a concrete trash can. And this guy goes, "You all must be from a big city." And I said, "Yeah, but we'd still be alive." So there's that.
Yeah. And you speaking about living in South Dakota and stuff. When I was reading your bio, you had a pretty interesting childhood. You were living in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Yes, sir.
When the when the president resigned.
Yeah, under less than favorable terms.
Yes, I did some reading on that. He, they had the election, then a few months later he resigned. What was that like? I mean, especially being an 18-year-old high school graduate.
I thought I was going to live forever. In hindsight, that should have been a lot more terrifying than it was. I was, watching the city I love burn was tragic. They had water towers that were on the roof. So when the power goes out, you still have gravity-fed water. I was sitting on top of that watching. There was a pool hall called Garuda, and that was one of the places I like to go. And I could see it burn from my house, and I was sitting on the roof watching it. And I remember hearing a helicopter, and I thought it sounded farther away than it was. And I turned around, and I could look the pilot in the eyes of a Soviet Hind helicopter, and he signaled for me to get down off the roof. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to argue with somebody flying a helicopter with machine guns on it. That's just kind of my rule.
No, I don't care how badass you think you are. You're probably going to lose that argument.
So, and my dad was a missionary there. So the consequences of that revolution had a lot more turmoil and stress to my family's life because of it. Christians in a Muslim country are never the most popular to begin with, let alone if you're the Christian that's responsible for converting Muslims. So that's definitely something that they're not happy with.
No, they don't look favorable on that.
No, it's, understandably, you're taking away their way of life. So I can see both sides of it. At least I understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
So when I got back stateside and out of the Marine Corps in 2004, getting a job was hard. I heard I was too military 10 times if I heard it once in job interviews. And it's weird because I didn't know how to be anything other than military at the time. So that was hard. Ended up working healthcare security, and then security management for the health system for a long time. My drinking and it started before I got out, as far as the drinking to go to bed at night. And then while I was working the healthcare security, it wasn't enough to drink to go to bed at night, because now you wake up in the morning, you got shakes real bad, and you don't want people to know you've been drinking to go to all night. So you drink in the morning and then at lunch so that you don't get the shakes and nobody knows you're drinking.
Yeah.
And then I continued self-medicating for 3 jobs and 2 ex-wives. I told the counselor when I first was like, hey, I need to get sober. The they said, have you ever blacked out from alcohol? And I said, just the one time, but it lasted probably 16 years. And they didn't think that was funny. And but I mean, that's kind of what it felt like. Everything between 2004 and 2017, I see photographs. I don't see VHS tapes in my mind.
Yeah.
I see photographs of things I should remember a lot better. Time with my kids, time with my family. All of those are pictures. They're not videos in my mind.
Yeah. I'm with you. I understand.
So when I hit rock bottom, it started July 4th, 2017. I went to a people funeral, and then my dog died, and I definitely went off the deep end. And at this point, on a normal basis, I was drinking a handle of Jim Beam every 2 days. And if I wanted to have fun, it was every 1 day. And how I did not die of alcohol poisoning somewhere along the way, I don't know. I definitely, you know, I tried having my last meal be, 12 gauge slug, and I couldn't go through with it, but the rifle still went off. Praying for the roulette wheel to hit 9 Mike, and there was some really dark times, and it's embarrassing when you look back at it. Why didn't you just ask for help sooner? It's really embarrassing that my parents had an intervention for me at one time. Other people in my life had definitely said, I think you've off, going off the deep end, and, losing 3 great jobs because of it. Definitely losing the relationship and trust with my kids. I'm still working to build that back, and, my kids are adults now, and it's still hard. So it started in that July 4th. And then my ex-wife, who was deployed to Japan at the time, deployments in the military aren't conducive. And then I'm not helping it on the home front at all. And then, so she tells me we're getting a divorce, and then I leave Florida, and I'm living in Missouri now. I'm sober at this point. And then I relapsed, and I'm not even sure what triggered my relapse. There was a phone call with the ex-wife, but I don't remember what triggered the relapse. Honestly, this is October, close to Halloween. My next conscious thought is 3 states over, getting woke up by the Arapahoe County SWAT team in a hotel room. I scared the crap out of a lot of people. I didn't threaten anybody, but when you're drinking and you're driving 3 states over, and that's pretty terrifying to anybody in the state that where my ex-wife was specifically. So I understand that, her being afraid. It was kind of definitely got blown out of proportion. When I got arrested, I think they said there were 3 empty handles in the hotel room, and some empty pill bottles and a single shotgun. Clearly the only person I was a threat to was myself. But when I was in court, they were reading, the prequel, like, hey, Your Honor, this next person, he's such a bad person, and there's no way we should ever give him bond. He's got, he's an expert in hand-to-hand and explosives, and an expert marksman. And none of this is true, by the way. But then, you know, I'm looking around for, you know, Rocky or Sylvester Stallone. I'm looking at, there's 8 people in county about to see the judge at the day. And I'm looking around at all of them going, which one of you guys is Rocky Balboa here? You know, Sylvester Stallone. I'm not seeing that. And then they said my name, and everybody kind of slid away from me a little bit. And I was like, no, that's not me. But it was kind of funny because in my head, I was like, wow, is that really how civilians see us? So I got to vacation in Arapahoe County for 6 months and ended up coming to Oklahoma. I had nothing. I landed on my butt pretty hard. And haven't lapsed since, and it's been, you know, since 2017. And
I'm just going to stop you right there. Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's I've gotten, everybody says that you know, getting sober, the first choice is and AA says something similar. I wasn't a fan of AA because it felt like to me a bunch of old people talking about how they were cooler when they were drinking. And that's not really how I wanted to live my life. And I know my experience is limited to that AA where I was. So I'm not saying all AA is bad. I'm just saying that wasn't a solution for me.
Yeah.
But you gotta find a higher power other than yourself to overcome that. And mine was finding going back to Christ, because when I was drinking, I didn't care. I honestly did not care about myself to the point where, you know, my life was meaningless and I was fine if I drank myself to death or I had a car accident and my truck rolled over or whatever. I was completely fine with that being an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when Marines I had looked up to committed suicide. That's, you know, man, these guys are stronger than I am. How did if that can happen to them, it can happen to me. So I started going to church. Somebody at the church was a veteran and had a small business. I was working for him as a painter. Great guy, phenomenal guy. He was Army, so we're not going to hold that against him. But he was a phenomenal guy. Is a phenomenal guy. And my parents were there, and then I reached out to Eagle Ops because I needed community service hours. They put me in touch with Eagle. There are so many phenomenal veteran organizations that are by veterans for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't found some in your area, look. There's so many of them out, and they're phenomenal. So I started with Eagle Ops. It's a phenomenal organization out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then Veterans for Life USA was they sent me to Brian Paul with Veterans for Life USA, and another phenomenal organization, and that was a cause I could get behind. We're trying to get guys and girls into rehab for addiction, any addictions that are not just veterans but first responders. If you need help and you got a problem, it's a great guy to call. It's a phenomenal organization, and to me, being part of something that was that you know, I still had fresh scars from
Mm-hmm.
that, dealing with that. Through working with vets, I've met a lot of phenomenal people. There's so many organizations around in Oklahoma and I know other areas have them too. But man, there's a guy, if you want to learn how to weld and work on vehicles, every night or once or twice a week, he's got veteran shop night. there's a veteran that does woodworking and builds flags. There's so many opportunities to be a part and to find purpose and meaning in your life again. I'm remarried. It's a completely sober relationship. She used to be a manager at a drug and alcohol clinic. That is not how we met, but it's funny. So I think our first or second date, I told her, hey, I got a lot of weird stuff going on behind where we are now. I can't drink. I don't care if you do, but I don't want it in the house or in a house I'm living in.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't drink anymore. So she believes in it that much that she's willing to give that up. I don't think she was a huge drinker, but social.
I think she believes in you that much.
And I was 100% coming to that. Yeah. And us, she's been phenomenal. And a huge support. And then, at a Vets for Life event, I met Aaron Hudgens with, the Travis Manning Foundation.
Uh-huh.
He's a phenomenal warrior with an incredible story. You guys had him on a few weeks ago. And, man, that man has triumphed adversity to levels that I can't even imagine. It's just phenomenal.
His story blew me away.
He's definitely a hero in my book.
Yes.
And I enjoy being part of the veteran community and being able to give back now. To me, that's bigger than I mean, that's a really big purpose, to give back to the community that was so supportive of you when you were deployed, and to be a part of that family again. That's phenomenal to me. And helping veterans in general. There's so many organizations, and I couldn't believe how much help was available if I'd only looked in the first place. I feel like we all made that decision to, I'm going to use the analogy of stepping on the yellow footprints. But we all consciously said, we're gonna stand up and put on the uniform every day. And if you can make that big a decision, you can make a decision in your heart to get sober. That same courage it took to go to boot camp and stand on those yellow footprints, muscle that up. And I know it's easier said than done, but I feel like, no, it's not an easy path, but you can do it if you make that decision. And
yes. And you mentioned something other. You said that, you started going back to church, and
that's
and I tell you what, I've always believed, haven't always went to church, but within the last few years, I was having a hard time, went up, knelt down, gave it all over. And it feels like, I don't know if you had to, it feels like, the millstone is taken off your neck. I mean, it's like a giant weight gets lifted off your shoulders.
The first time I went back to church after coming out of county and everything, I met with the pastor, and I, told him where I was been and what basically what age I was for the last 16 years. And he said, everything's behind you now, and it's forgiven. And like you said, it was a huge millstone pulled off of my neck. And I was like, that has a lot of power behind it. And
I want to let people know that are listening that may or may not believe, life don't necessarily get easier, but it gets better.
It gets manageable.
Yeah.
Things you couldn't overcome before, you can. And my church family is as big a part of me now as my veteran family is.
Yes.
And honestly, it's amazing how many people are there to help you if you look around, and it really is. Your life does really matter to people around you, and in ways you couldn't imagine before. And I really want to emphasize that if guys and girls are struggling, I mean, reach out to somebody.
Yes, and you know that's one of the reasons why when Rich started this, that's one of the reasons he started it. You know, to get people to, you know, whether contact one of us, to dial 988, to, you know, to get some help, get help getting those demons out of your head.
At the intro, you guys were talking about Into Watch for some officers, and that hurt. It always does when I see a post about somebody's Into Watch or a veteran that didn't make it. That hurts, and it's scary because I was so close to being one of those. Oh well, he's not here anymore, and it's heavy and it's embarrassing. Why didn't I ask for help sooner? Before everything got so
Because you
far out of
didn't
control.
know. You didn't know you needed it. You thought everything was okay.
And I saw a thing the other day. You talked about hitting rock bottom. I saw a thing the other day that said, when you hit rock bottom, you know you have a firm foundation to stand on.
I'll have to remember that and maybe steal it.
Oh, go ahead. I read it somewhere on Facebook. So,
but it truly, I did feel like there was no place to go but up, and I remember getting arrested, and I told the officer, okay, we can index now. It was good, but I got a couple of notes, and he laughed at me, and then he stuck me in a patrol car, and I was like, huh. I don't think this is a training op. But it was weird because that's 100% where I was. I was like, yeah, we can index now. This is this isn't comfortable. And you know, you guys did really good. I got some notes, but I mean, you guys overall, I'd say you guys did really good, but I got some notes, and he just laughed at me. And I don't think the realization had set in until I was throwing up in county, and then I was like, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore.
No. Well, hey, John, I don't know where this hour has went.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Great talking to you guys.
Hey, it was great. Now, before we go, I got a question. I got a couple things for you. First, that beard is phenomenal.
Thank you. And my wife said I'm not allowed to shave it anymore.
Okay. And second, something we ask of all of our guests that we have on is, what are 3 things that are non-negotiable to John every morning when he gets up?
Number 1, I'd say not in any particular order, but get up. Number 1.
Okay.
Family and faith are the other 2, but get up and force yourself to make a difference. Say yes. That movie, The Yes Man, it's a great movie. Say yes to things you wouldn't normally do. It's out of your comfort zone. It's say yes. That's a phenomenal movie. But yeah, definitely my faith, family, and just get up and be there for yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, John, we thank you for being on this evening.
Thank you very much for having me. This was a very, very awe-inspiring experience.
And you have a very good story. You know, get out there and share it. Get in those veterans groups and share it with other people. And, you know, maybe you can help somebody else get to where you're at today.
I hope so. But
I want to apologize. I want to apologize to the listeners that had questions. The conversation was just flowing tonight, and we didn't get to your questions, and I apologize for that. Also, Check us out on Reach Across America Radio on iHeart Mondays at 3 p.m. John, I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you tonight. Loved your story. Loved the fact that you're still here and you've cleaned yourself up and you made a better life. And I thank you for your service.
Thank you, gentlemen, and God bless.
Yeah. Hey, when we cut out, hang out a couple minutes. I got
Yes,
some
sir.
stuff I want to share with you.
Yes, sir.
Misfit Nation, we love you. We'll see you next
Good night.
Tuesday.
Take it easy.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.